Hi. So I didn't come on live yesterday as I would normally on a Tuesday because full of a cold and felt worse yesterday and quite frankly just couldn't be bothered. Not going to lie to you. I couldn't be bothered because full of a cold, just feeling sorry for myself. And you know, when you've got a cold and you start talking and get this tickle and then you get this annoying cough and yeah, I just couldn't be bothered. I'm still a little bit like that just now. Not that I can't be bothered because I wouldn't be on here if I couldn't be bothered. So, but I might be a bit coughing and spluttering, but I feel okay. So, so a couple of things. First of all, just wanted to say that a lot of you will know it's Mental Health Awareness Day tomorrow. I'm going to pop a link in here. You may have seen already me sharing. I have done a page on my website, which is just free resources for people to access to start the conversation for mental health awareness. Hang on, I'm just trying to put it in here. It's basically my website, saritaylor.com/mental health. So there it is. Hi, Jonathan. So it's there for people to share, to pass around, so that anybody can start a conversation around mental health. Because what I see, you will have seen my again post recently maybe about me moaning a little bit about the campaigns in the press. Now don't get me wrong, it's great that we're talking more, it's great that the awareness is there more, but we're still missing the mark a bit. Like, yeah, it's good to talk, yeah, it's great to have conversations, but part of the problem is not always, I mean it is sometimes because people are too embarrassed or don't want to talk, but sometimes because they literally don't know where to start, and people don't know what to say to each other, and people don't really know what they're looking for in order to get that change. You know, we can say, oh, we let's talk more. Then what? Like, talking more may help, but for some it may not help. So what I've done is, excuse me, created a page which has got some starting videos on there. Just to get some conversation flowing. There's a couple of worksheets on there. So there's things for children to use and adults to use. And also at the bottom, if you go on the page but you haven't got time to go through it all, if you pop your email in, going on my newsletter list, basically it just all gets emailed to you. So you want it, if you want it all there in your inbox forever to keep, just pop your email in and it will just get sent automatically to you. It is my newsletter list, to be quite honest. Can't remember the last time I did a newsletter, so you won't be getting spammed, that's for sure. I only do it every once in a blue moon. I should probably do it at least once a month. But put it this way, you're not going to be getting daily emails. So it's there for people to share. If anyone's got any questions, if you want to ask me now, I don't know how long my throat is going to hold out. I should have had a lemon sip before I started, but I'll do that later. So I will just answer a question. I won't talk for too long because it's irritating my throat. And I need to save my voice for somebody that I'm speaking to later. So yeah, let me know if you have a question. And as I say, that page is pinned there to the top with resources for all things mental health for you to have a look at. Give it a share, or give this video a share, because the link will stay in it, I think. I think it stays in the comments whether it's shared or not. So yeah, let's see if anyone's got a question. There's nothing coming up as at the moment. A lot of organisations are doing stuff for mental health awareness this week. I am popping into my husband's workplace tomorrow. There's a little drop-in for them to come and ask questions if they want, if anybody has any questions. And I know there are a lot of other places doing that as well, which is brilliant. But yeah, let me know. Has anyone got a question? Surely someone has a question for me to answer. Look like I've got a cold, don't I? Sometimes, okay, I'll just talk for a minute then. Sometimes when we have a cold or we've had a late night, or just because we're human, our mood fluctuates, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about our level of consciousness and awareness, and our mood will fluctuate. And what happens when our mood fluctuates is, Craig, I hate being on my own. You're not on your own right now, Craig. You're here with us. There's a really good site called meetup.com, which is not for dating, but for going out and meeting like-minded people, you know, cinema groups, book groups, blah, 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 people with social anxiety, people interested in politics, but like you name it on there. That's a really good place to go and have a look in your local area if you want to be around more people, you want to connect with people more. Yeah, so when our consciousness and awareness shifts, when we are feeling unwell or under the weather, or like I say, just because we're human, our moods will just fluctuate as part of being a human being, and we don't always know why, and we don't actually need to know why. But what is important to know when that happens is the quality of our thoughts change, or the clarity, I suppose. Not necessarily the quality, but what tends to happen is we'll start to believe our thoughts more when our levels of consciousness and awareness are a bit lower. It's like we fall into a trap of believing that our thoughts are real. And then that can then end up being something that we end up kind of getting into a bit of a spiral of anxious thinking, then can feel anxious. So I was just talking to my private members group. I won't go into loads of detail here, but I've had a load of thoughts today, quite a bit of anxious thinking, which has meant I felt a little bit wobbly. And the reason I felt like that is because I was trying to preempt my life for the next 3 months whilst I'm not feeling good, because that's what I tend to do. I tend to go, oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing that terrible word should, you know, and you know, why aren't I doing this now? Why aren't I doing that now? And then what if I'm like this in a week, in 2 weeks? What if I'm like this? And then I was laughing, saying, then I'm like, what if I was ill like this for my sister's wedding in December? It's like, oh, come on. And then because I'm used to exploring these things and coaching these things, then something just kicks in here. Well, I know what it is. My wisdom goes, Sari, really? Honestly, do you need to do that? And then I kind of laugh to myself. But actually, when I'm in the throes of it, I get the symptoms. I feel dizzy. I feel weak. I feel that dread. I feel it's like all created through me trying to predict the future and trying to put expectations on myself that I need to be getting on with stuff and I need to have it all figured out and I need to be perfect for everything I need to do going forward the next few weeks. And it's just bullshit, basically. So I just thought I'd share that with you. So I still don't have any questions. So I'm not going to carry on talking because, as I say, my throat is a little bit sore. I need to save it. But do please share this video or share the link that's in there. There's a page on my website with free resources, all in support of mental health awareness. Okay, and if you're watching this video, once it's downloaded and uploaded onto Instagram, the link will be in my bio. Julie, something that might be helpful is knowing that when you've had the flu or the virus finally dies, the shell of the virus can cause clinical depression, very debilitating and scary, but knowing it may happen. You see, the way I see it, Julie, is that I do overthink if I've been unwell or had a cold, and partly because I'm laid there, not that distracted, and just because your state of mind is slightly lower. So actually, I'm not going to disagree with you because I don't know the medical facts behind it or anything like that. But what I do know is, regardless of whether that's the case or not, we have a choice of how we continue to experience our illness or our cold or flu or whatever it is through our thinking. And I know and I recognise, for example, like today when I just said that I had a load of anxious thinking and started to feel not so great because I was putting unrealistic expectations on myself to not have this cold because I've got shit to do. Like, I need to be doing this and I need to be doing that. And as I say, then it gets more and more irrational. And then I was considering, what if I was still like this my sister's wedding in December? And that's where my internal alarm just went, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And I can laugh about it, and then it passes very quickly for me. But that just comes with experience of understanding how our thoughts work. And that's why the stuff I do with people isn't actually rocket science. it's just something that we need to keep at and keep exploring to put where it sinks in a bit more. What's the word? Not deep is not the word, because we all have the ability to connect deeply in a split second with ourselves anyway. But it's just more about trusting, I suppose, in the truth, trusting in the process, trusting in the knowing that the thoughts will pass, trusting in all of that sort of situation. But part of the reason why I shared this before and shared it in my private group is because, like, and one of the things I was saying, and then I'll stop going on about this now, but one of the things I was saying in my private group, I will say in my private group, I felt anxious today. Whereas in the past, I wouldn't say that I felt anxious to somebody, because I would think they would then judge that I'm not capable of doing my job, that what is wrong with me? God, if she's like that, then there's no hope for us. How can she help other people? And now, because that is not how I see it, and I see that, yeah, I'm human like anyone else, and if I overthink it because I've got a lower state of mind, because I've got a cold or whatever else, then I can feel anxious just like the next person. But it doesn't scare me, it doesn't overwhelm me to the same extent. And so I can laugh about it. And the other thing, which might sound a bit big-headed, but it's important to say it, is I know I am still more than capable of helping and supporting other people, even though I might feel anxious at times. And I'm completely confident in that, and that's the difference. Whereas before, I would be kind of like, oh no, what if people judge me? And all of that was also part of me accepting it, which made life much, much easier. Why do I hate being in shopping centres? Too many people next to me. I start feeling really upset and thinking they're looking at me and sick of pretending to be different. Okay, so often people will say things like, I don't like it when it's too busy in a shopping centre, or I don't like it at a concert because it's too busy, or I need to know where the escape exits are, etc., etc. Because everything we're experiencing, whether it be a building, a person, a situation, is all being experienced through our thinking. So if you have lots of thoughts about busyness, because I can kind of hear it in your message that you're putting there. So first of all, it's busy. There's lots of people. That then stems to figuring out what lots of people are thinking. If they're looking at you, what that means. Are they judging you? And you can see the layers piling very quickly on top of each other. Whole load of anxious thinking. So you're going to feel anxious. So it's not the shopping centre or the people or the direction that they're looking in that's creating your anxiety. It's your thoughts about all of that stuff. You know, some people are the opposite, get more scared and anxious when they're on their own, because they have more thoughts about the fact that they're on their own and are they capable, and they need other people. So some people feel more comfortable in busier places. So we've all got our thing and our story. We've all got anxieties about certain things, but the thing that is exactly the same for every single person is that anxiety is created through your thoughts and your perception of that situation, of that building, you know, of that person. How to avoid virtual harassment. I'm not sure of what the details are and the specifics, so it's hard to say, but when I get harassed on my page or on my personal stuff, I just block and delete. See you later, alligator. You don't need to put up with that rubbish. Is it normal to have really low mood with anxiety? Yeah, it's really common. What I'd say also, Abby, is that you know, if we start thinking low thoughts, we're going to have low feelings. So I was always low when I got really anxious, and that was because I was frustrated, I was fed up. I started to have really depressing thoughts like, oh, is this it? How long is this going to go on for? I'm really tired, I can't do this anymore. Is this all life's got to offer? So, of course, if I'm going to be thinking things like that, then I'm going to start to feel those things as well. Hi, Norma. I've come to terms with my past. Why am I still in active addiction? Any ideas? Sorry, please. Why am I still blocking things? We all have our resistance to things, Norma, and it's when we're unable to accept certain things at the moment, only temporarily, because that can change. But it's just that we'll be resisting. We all believe we've got, we get to the point where we can be like, we've got this one thing that's really difficult for us to finally change, So it may just be that there's some resistance, but just keep learning, keep exploring how this stuff works, because any form of addiction, the addiction is the behaviour at the end of the whole process. So your thinking starts, then you have feelings, then you have a behaviour that is, whether it be drinking, drugs, whatever it is your way of trying to reduce or take away those feelings, but they're still created through your thinking. So the more you understand of this stuff, the easier it will become to just change that habit. Whereas when we focus on the habit per se, like that's the big thing, I need to stop drinking, I need to stop taking drugs, we're kind of barking up the wrong tree, we're looking at the wrong end. And we'll come unstuck because we still have the capacity to massively overthink everything. So it's about understanding that part, Norma. So Norma, send me a message. It might not be tonight, but I can recommend some stuff for you to look at or read. How do you stop convincing yourself you have... Stop convincing yourself... Abby, you can convince yourself of absolutely everything. In my throes of severe anxiety, I could have convinced myself of anything. Like, honestly. Let me think of some of the things I believe myself to potentially be at threat of at some points. Is tics, Tourette's, bipolar, anxiety disorders of many, many forms, depression. I think I had a dream once. I saw a program on the TV of a woman that had some kind of seizure and woke up and spoke only in a foreign language. I can remember once lying in bed thinking, what if that happened to me? Like, honestly, I'm not trying to ridicule what you're saying here, because I get that it feels horrible to you. It's like it feels horrible in the moment when you're worried about this stuff. But honestly, we can convince ourselves of anything. You see on This Morning television, someone that's fell in love with the Eiffel Tower and wants to marry it. Like, yeah, we'll laugh and joke about that, but our thought is very, very, very powerful. And if we start to believe things and reiterate and affirm our story, then we can look for it. So the way that you stop convincing yourself is to stop searching for it. Look for all of the symptoms, all of the times, all of the moments where that doesn't ring true, because there will be some. You might have a full day where you feel like you are displaying certain behaviours, but within that there'll be times where you don't. One of the quotes that I put in my book, which I really love, from Dr. Bill Pettit, who's a mentor of mine, is that can't even think straight now, that a diagnosis, in fact, I put this on my page today, a diagnosis is an indication of where we are, not who we are. Yeah. So actually, I in the past will have been diagnosed at some point with generalized anxiety disorder, severe anxiety, acute anxiety disorder, something or other. Now I don't believe I have any disorders whatsoever. I get anxious when I have a lot of anxious thinking, and I also have lots of times where I'm not anxious. You can be as hung up as much as you want. Google. Oh, someone in Peru saying you love my videos. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Google is your enemy. Do not Google. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, we can convince ourselves of anything. Richard, if I want to reduce my medication... The psychological work, yes, understanding how thoughts work, so that when you are no longer on the medication, or you're reducing it and you're feeling symptoms, that you don't overthink them and get into a spiral, so that 6 months down the line you don't have a whole load of anxious thinking and go, oh, I need my tablets back, and go back on them and undo your good work. Because what you'll be able to do is you'll go, okay, here's the thoughts, anxious thinking, I know how this works, I don't need to believe this. I read silly stuff where people said they have it permanently and that's what really affected me. Yeah, Abby, come off Google. Do not go on. I've been there myself many, many times in the middle of the night. How long will it take for this medication to work? How will, will this damage me forever? Has me being anxious for years affected my body or my heart? Blah, blah, blah. Been there, done that. You will find the answers that you are looking for, as in somebody will always say it affects you. But there's lots and hundreds of thousands of people who have had horrible experiences, who have been through a lot and come out the other side of it, who won't be going on and writing on those forums. So you're not getting a balance for you, so don't bother. It's like when you're at school, in science, they say, is this a fair test? It's not a fair test. Went to see a friend and he pretended to be out of his flat when I saw him, and that really upset me. I put trust in him now, he's broke my trust. Why? Abby's on a Google ban. Yes, you are. You're on a Google ban, Abby. Do you know what's interesting? I'm going to come back to you in 1 second, Lee, and then I'm going to finish up. Abby, laughing about this, when I started to explore this stuff, learning all the stuff, again, that I coach in my private group, that talk about in my book, everything that is what I do, one of the signs and one of my warning signs when I knew I was slipping back into anxious thinking is I'd start to Google. And it was funny because I'd find myself clicking on the link of Google to type in some random question that I was looking for the answer to. And that was like my little warning sign. I go, oh, you're overthinking again. Go and settle. And I'd stop myself. So maybe it could be your warning sign too. Okay. So Lee, all I can say on that is it's really difficult in the sense that people can upset us, and you're well within your rights to feel upset based on your perception of the situation, but you just don't know what his reasons are. You know, put it this way, I could have pretended to be out many times because I was anxious as hell, and somebody might have seen that I was in and been upset and thought I'd ignored them. But maybe if you're thinking, always trying to think from a compassionate place, maybe he's got his own stuff. It's about him, it's not about you. I get that you might feel upset, and that's okay. Abby, no problem. How do you convince yourself in facing up to negative issues of work and stop thinking negative ideas permanently? That in itself is a little bit of a contradiction, and I'll just highlight why. How do you convince yourself in facing up to negative issues? Sometimes in facing up to them, we have to think about them a lot. Sometimes it's about learning to just draw a line and let things go. Like, I don't know the specific situation. However, if it's something that you can just leave, if you're trying to figure it out, so say, really basic example, somebody said something to you at work that you didn't like, and you think, oh, they're picking on me, or they don't like me, or whatever. Then that's past and you carry on. If you continue to try and work out why that is and look for all the other times that they've done that, and how can you speak to them, how can you make them like you more, how can you do this, all of that is the anxious thinking that you're going to then feel negative and have negative thoughts about work every time you step through the door. So it works in the same way as anything else, remembering everything is inside out, so it's only ever your perception. So negative problems and issues at work are negative because we are experiencing them in that way, because we are trying to figure them out, trying to change them, trying to make things not what they are, putting unrealistic expectations on ourselves. The list is endless. So I hope that helps. So the other thing I've put, just to remind now before I go, I have put a link in there. There's a page for mental health awareness stuff, people, free resources to share around tomorrow. And also I will pop in there for anyway, because I always get messages after asking about my book. If anybody wants to purchase the book, which will be delivered soon, then I've also put the link in there. It's just my website, saritaylor.com / shop. It's in there. Talk about all this stuff in there. And then if anybody wants more specific help, obviously, you know, I've got a private members club where I do this type of thing, but daily. I'm available to them daily. Okay, take care, everyone. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch up with you all soon. Bye for now.